Good evening to one and all present here. I'm Lakshya Mittal and I'll be hosting the second episode of Startup Odyssey. On behalf of IIT Guwahati, we are delighted to welcome you all. I hope you are with us right from the first episode, and if not, then you can watch it on our YouTube channel. Why are we here today? Entrepreneurs are naturally drawn to each other. They enjoy learning from each other's experiences. So, are you someone who has the idea but is too afraid to start? Don't worry, we are with you. The great inventor Thomas Edison was once asked how he could remain optimistic even after failing thousands of times, to which he replied, I haven't failed. I've discovered 10,000 ways that won't work. So, why don't we hear from the expert himself about how to identify the problems and figure out the solutions effectively? IIT Guwahati presents scale-up specialist Mr. Arunabh Sinha, the founder and CEO at Uclean. He's the founder of India's largest laundry chain and is committed to building India's first organized chain of laundromats, focused on the fostering the DIY, the do-it-yourself culture. Arunabh is highly skilled at scaling up businesses that work on the Phygital model. A graduate from IIT Bombay, he's an extremely passionate and diligent personality. Apart from running his own startups, he also advises and handholds some other brands on their expansion spree. So, without any further ado, I would like to request Arunabh sir to take the helm from here.
Thank you so much, Lakshya, and thank you so much to the entire ESL team at IIT Guwahati for this wonderful opportunity to present my webinar, which is on identifying problems and their solutions. So before jumping into the webinar, I would like to point out that a lot of the content that I'm going to be presenting over the next 1 hour or so are drawn from my own personal experiences. So just as a background, I graduated from IIT Bombay in 2008. I worked for a couple of years thereafter, and then I started my own consulting firm, which used to help international brands in entering India, and vice versa. It also helped a lot of Indian brands expand internationally. I ran it for 5 years, and then it was eventually acquired by Franchise India and Times of India. Thereafter, I worked for almost 1.5 years for this hotel chain, Trevo Hotels, where I was heading the entire North India business, bringing hotels under Trevo, developing their sales and marketing channels. And while I was working at Trevo, that's when I realized that one of the biggest challenges that a lot of these budget hoteliers in particular face is the lack of quality laundry. So that really gave me the idea, and that was what you could truly call the eureka moment for starting Uclean. Now, when ESL IIT Guwahati team approached me to talk on the platform, I was really excited. But when they gave me the topic, I was really unsure. Because honestly, when you look at the topic, which is identifying problems and their solutions, this is a very broad topic, right? And it could mean different things to different people. For an inventor, it could mean an opportunity to identify something that doesn't exist and invent something out of the blue and hope that it works. For a scientist, this could mean something entirely different. But because I represent the entrepreneur fraternity, and since I'm talking on the entrepreneurship platform, so I have restricted my presentation to building businesses, identifying business problems, and trying to come up with a solution. So what you're going to see next is a methodology that I have personally worked upon, and I'll be honest. So when I started my first startup, I did not have this methodology in place. So I developed it only when I was at Trevo, working closely with the founders, and then when I started Uclean, I used this methodology, and I realized that it does help. It does work to an extent. I'm not saying that this is absolutely the perfect method, and this method would definitely help you identify the problem and the exact solution to this problem. But you can look at this as a starter for yourself, especially people who are already entrepreneurs or are aspiring to be entrepreneurs. So in this presentation, I'll first talk about the approach that I'm taking, which I call the user approach. Thereafter, I'll talk about how to profile your user. Then we'll talk about how to identify the pain points of your user, because it is very important to understand the pain points, the troubles that the user is having, because you would be building your entire solution around it. Thereafter, I talk about a solution building framework, which is my own framework, but it has worked for a lot of other problems that I have seen. I'll give you a couple of case studies so that you can also relate to what I'm trying to convey. And then I would be happy to throw up the floor to any questions that you guys might have. So this is the user approach. Now, in this approach, what I would ask like you to do is look around yourself. So you right now you are sitting remotely. You might be at your hostel. You might be at your home. Look at the different kind of users that you would see, and these should not be limited to your family and friends. So obviously, it could be your sibling. It could be your mother, but also look a little broad. You will see that you interact with a lot of people on a day-to-day basis. So it could be your pet dog, it could be a fisherman, it could be your teacher, it could be a doctor that you go to, and each one of them is a potential user. Each one of them represents a potential market opportunity. So the first step of this user approach that I have created is to identify where is the next market. Look around you, look at the different stakeholders that you interact with on a daily basis. Now, what you need to do is profile the user. So let us take an example of a lady that you know. She could be your sister, she could be your mother, she could be your teacher, doctor, she could be anyone. So try and understand which city and area does she live in, because it is important to appreciate that a problem that is prevalent in one particular city might not be necessarily prevalent in any other city, or it could be prevalent in a different form. So it is important to understand which city, and also in the city, which area is she living in, what her age bracket, what is her, in case she's not someone who's earning, what does her daily schedule look like, what consumes most of her time. Are you able to hear me?
Sir, actually, your voice is cracking.
Just
Guys, I think Sir has lost his connection, so please hold on for some time. We'll be back soon.
am I audible now?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Really sorry. I think there was some internet-related issues at my end.
Okay, sir.
So what I'll do is I'll share my presentation. So I hope you can hear me.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So coming back to the slide, it is also very important to understand what makes her the happiest and what are her pain points. Because whatever solution you're going to build, you would be building around what makes her happiest and what are her pain points. Because whatever is making her happy is again an opportunity, and whatever is a pain point also becomes an opportunity. So now the first part is where you have profiled your potential user. around some well-defined quantitative points. The second part is where you need to look at her from an empathy perspective. So, if any of you are doing a design thinking course online or whether you're doing it at your institute, you would realize that design thinking talks a lot about what is called the empathy map of a user. And it is actually very important. So, you need to also understand, also empathize with your user and step into her shoes. You need to understand what is she dealing with, what are the hopes she has, what are the worries that she has, what is the kind of environment that she's in, her attitude, her behavior, because all these points are ultimately going to help you in building the solution that we are all talking about. So once you have done a proper, what I call database profiling, and then you have looked at your user from an empathy perspective, that is when you have a comprehensive profile of the user. And now you very well know what are her pain points and what does she love the most. These are again the two most important questions you need to answer. And these should be very comprehensive. So when you're talking about the pain points, because that is what we are trying to solve for in this presentation. So these could be daily activities, these could be occasional activities, these could be even once in a lifetime activity, which has a very high ticket size. So you need to know that, you need to understand and know that these are activities that potentially she hates, but there is no way she can escape doing them. And this becomes the pain point that you're going to solve. So once you have identified the pain point, the next step is weighing these pain points on certain parameters. So I'm defining 5 different parameters on which I would like to measure the pain point. And what I would like to do is I would illustrate it with an example. So let's say there is a lady who procures milk every day. So say she has a couple of young kids and they really need milk. They need milk on a daily basis. And let's say this lady is based in Faridabad. So I'm sitting in Faridabad right now, where my office is. And let's say that this lady lives in Faridabad, and till now she's ordering milk from the local dudwala. So now what is the frequency? The frequency is she orders it daily. So the frequency is very, very high. So this is the first thing that you need to understand, that what is the frequency. The second is uniqueness. So is this particular problem, the problem that she's not at all happy with the local dudwala, is this particular problem restricted to her, or is there a much larger customer base that is going through a similar problem? And the answer is absolutely yes. Literally every house orders milk today. So if you look at the population of India, which is more than 1.3 billion, these 1.3 billion people all constitute users in some form or the other. Some could be directly consuming the milk, some could be using it as part of tea, some could be using it as part of coffee. So the problem is not at all unique. The third is understanding what are the existing solutions. So if you look at the existing solutions for this lady, they are the local dudwala. So she might be affiliated to uh, one dudwala today. She could potentially switch over to a second dudwala tomorrow. But these are all local dudwala who have their own small setup, and they might not be able to solve the problem which the lady has, which is she's never sure whether the milk is adulterated. She's never sure whether it's a good quality milk or not. And she's not even sure what kind of animals are being used. So the third part is also well established, that she's not at all happy with the existing solutions that are there. The fourth part is affordability. So affordability could be an issue, could not be an issue. If she has deep pockets, she doesn't mind shelling out 60 rupees per kg or 80 rupees per kg to the local dudwala. The last part is complication. So as an entrepreneur, you need to think about this very deeply. Whenever you are getting into a new business, you realize that the business is high frequency, the business has a very large user database, the business has existing solution, but the solution is not what the customer likes. The business has affordability, so the customer would be able to afford if you're able to give a good solution. But are there any complications? So as an example, there's this milk delivery business called Country Delight, which is very popular in a lot of tier one cities of India, where they give you packaged certain grade milk, doorstep delivered early in the morning, and you can actually subscribe. So you can go to their app, you can take a 1 month package, you can take a 6 month package. Apart from milk, you could also order a lot of milk related products. They also do coconut water delivery. So as a customer, you could choose a lot of services from them. And Country Delight realized that the biggest pain point is not that milk is not available, but rather the customers do not have confidence in the quality of milk. So what this company Country Delight did next was they started supplying this kit along with the milk, and this kit actually helps you test the uh, quality of your milk every day. So the moment you place your order first day, along with the milk, they would also send you a very thick brochure which talks about the fact that this is an IIM Ahmedabad venture and how they have tried to absolutely disrupt and transform the milk delivery industry. But most importantly, they keep harping about the fact that they really focus on quality and they make sure that they're delivering the right quality of milk to your home. So they also send this very fancy kit, basis which you can test the quality of their milk every day. Now, this really won the heart of the customer, won the heart of this lady, because now she was assured that the quality of milk is really good and she does not have to bother about the health of their kids. So, this is an example of what I call understanding the pain point in greater details.
I think Sir lost his connection again. Till then, what you can do is you can post your questions in the questions tab. As we are going to have a small Q&A session in the end to get all of your doubts resolved. So kindly hold on for a few minutes. We'll be back soon. Hello, sir. Can you hear me? Please hold on. We are just coming back soon.
So I'm really sorry. This is very embarrassing. I especially come for this presentation, but somehow the office internet is acting up. So I'll just restart.
Okay, sir.
I hope you're able to see my screen.
Yes, sir.
So apologies. This is embarrassing, but I'll try to continue from here. What next we'll try to do is we will try to quantify the pain point. So this lady who is currently facing a lot of issues will quantify the pain points that she's having on these various parameters, which is frequency, uniqueness, existing solutions, affordability, and complications. Uh, so, like we quantified it for the milk delivery business, the idea is that rate the particular pain point on a scale of 5 on all these 5 factors. So, for example, if there is a business which has a very high frequency, I would rate it 5. And if it is a business like buying a Gucci handbag, so, like I was saying, if there's a business which has a low frequency, like buying a Gucci handbag, which you would potentially do once in a couple of years, then you would rate it 1 on a scale of 5. The second is uniqueness. If you feel that there is a mass business where almost everyone is an audience, so again, the milk delivery business is the perfect example, then you would rate it 5 on a scale of 5. But if there's a business which is very unique, which is very niche, so for example, buying a Lamborghini, you would rate it 1 on a scale of 5. The third is look at the existing solutions around you. So, for example, if I decided to start a cab aggregation business today, I know that Ola and Uber are very well there, very well entrenched in the market. So, I would say that the existing business is already very competitive, and the probability of succeeding amidst this competition is very, very low. So, I would rate it 1 on a scale of 5. The next is affordability, because the more affordable the business, the more would be the target audience. So if I find out that there is a very affordable business, I would rate it a 5. But if I find out that the business has very low affordability, I would rate it 1 on a scale of 5. The last part is understanding complications. So, for example, there are a lot of products that you cannot legally import into India today. So, for example, if you decided to start an import business where you realize that the product that you want to import cannot be imported because of legal restrictions, then you would only rate it 1 on a scale of 5 when it comes to complication. Now, add up all these 5 individual scores, and if you see that there is a score of more than 20, then there is a very high possibility that it is a high potential business. If the score is between 15 to 20, then it would need further investigation and analysis. And if the score is less than 15, then the potential is doubtful. You would need to do a much deeper analysis and figure out whether this is the kind of business that you want to get into. Now, having presented this numerical method, I would also like to uh, put a caveat that this is not a framework that can help you decide for every business possible in this world. There would be still 5 to 10% businesses that would still have a low score but still have a very high potential. So, just to give you an example, if you were in the business of selling, say, very expensive handbags, then the number of clients that you would have would be very limited. And if you put that business on this 5 scale, it might score very low. But when you look at the market around it, you would realize that there is a niche customer that does buy these handbags. So you cannot reject a business just because it scores low on these parameters, but the probability of a business doing well, if it rates highly on these parameters, is very high. So now, this going to give you an actual example, and this is going to be our first case study. What we are going to do is we are going to build a persona, and the persona of the woman that we are going to talk about is someone who is super busy, someone who has a very stressful life, and someone who does not have many options when it comes to laundry. So this is a particular case that is very close to heart, and that is something that I have seen happening in my own life, and that is why I'm going to talk about it. And let's call this lady Gunjan. So Gunjan is actually not a fictional character. She's my wife, and she's one of the reasons, one of the inspirations, or one of the biggest pushes why I started Uclean. So Gunjan is your typical girl who works in Delhi. She's in her early 30s. She works 6 days in a week. And on the seventh day, she's forced to do laundry. She has a house help. She does the laundry. She helps Gunjan with the laundry. But she cannot leave the laundry to the house help alone because she has had the bad experience that she ends up spoiling the laundry many times. The clothes get damaged. These are expensive clothes. So she cannot leave the entire laundry to the maid. She has to be around supervising the maid, and the entire Sunday goes for a toss. What option does she have? There are two options. And this is something that I'm talking about 5 years back. So one option was she could go to the local dhobi. The second option was a dry cleaner. The problem with the local dhobi, as you would realize, is one, it's a very low quality job. Secondly, if you look at the local dry cleaner, these guys are generally very expensive. So Gunjan is now between the devil and the Dead Sea. She doesn't really know where to go to. And this was one major problem. And Gunjan is just a representative. So if you look at all the working women today in India, they are going through a similar problem. So they are super busy, they are leading a stressful life, but they do not have good quality options when it comes to laundry and dry cleaning, a chore that you cannot avoid. So now, basis Gunjan's problem, I'm going to measure the laundry business on the parameter scale that I developed for you. So the first is, let's talk about the frequency of laundry business. Laundry business, if you look at it, if you look at a 4 or 5 member family in any city today, you would realize that you generate enough dirty clothes every week, which requires cleaning. So it is a very high frequency business where the same customer needs cleaning at least once every week. So it scores an absolute 5 on a scale of 5. Now let us look at the second parameter, which is how unique is the business. Gunjan is not alone. Literally every household in India today requires laundry. Every household in India today is very unhappy with the maid. And every household in India today is time crunched to do their laundry at home, even if they have the best possible washing machines. So again, when it comes to uniqueness, we score 5 on 5. Now let us look at the existing solutions. So like I said before, the existing solutions, either they are very poor in quality, as is the case with your local dhobi, or they are shit expensive, as is the case with the dry cleaner. So the competition or the existing solutions are there, but because they are very poor or they are very unaffordable, it scores 4 on a scale of 5. Now, when you talk about affordability, like I said, the only good option, which is your neighborhood dry cleaner, he is very expensive. So there is also very good room to develop a solution that is affordable, and hence it scores 4 on a scale of 5. Last, there is no legality around laundry. So you literally, if you have a good washing machine, if you have access to a rented shop, you can set up your laundry anywhere. All you need is a simple shop and establishment license, which you can get anywhere in India in 3 days. So now let us add up the scores, and you would see that laundry business has a score of 23 on a scale of 25, which means it's a very high potential mass market business. Now, I'll give you a second example. And This is again a real life example that I'm going to talk about. So at Uclean itself, we do a lot of traveling. Our team members travel across India, and typically most of them stay at budget hotels. Now let us go back in time and let us look at the budget hotel space in India. Who is your right customer? So typically a mid-level corporate from relatively smaller organizations who has to travel a lot, typically based in a city like Bengaluru, and a lot of stay that he does is in budget hotels. He lives a stressful life because he's traveling all the time, he's working on presentations, he's out on the ground meeting clients, trying to sell them a proposition. When he comes back in the night, he wants to rest. So what does he do? He goes to the budget hotel which he finds. The moment he enters the room, he's absolutely put off because one, the photos that were shown on the website versus what he's seeing are absolutely different. The quality of linen is dirty, the quality of breakfast is dirty, he doesn't really like the room service that he's getting, and worst of all, the behavior of the staff is atrocious. But he is optionless. His pay grade doesn't allow him to stay at a five-star hotel, so he's forced to stay grudgingly at a budget hotel. Now, let us weigh this entire budget hotel business and the potential on the five parameters that we talked about. So, first is frequency. Now, someone like Daksh, who is a mid level traveler who has to travel a lot, the frequency is very high. He literally stays in a hotel room 10 out of 30 days in a month, sometimes even more. So, the frequency of the business, super high. Let's talk about uniqueness. Daksh is not alone. India has more than 4 million, more than 40 lakh corporates who require their employees to travel and stay in budget hotels. So look at the potential. The third is you talk about the existing solutions. Now, if you talk about the existing solutions, you would realize that India has more than 2 million budget hotels. That's not a small number, that's a very large number, but unfortunately, none of them is up to the standard. 99% of them suffer either from bad quality laundry or have a poor breakfast or have a poor overall experience. And hence, the market still has a massive potential for someone who comes in with a serious intent to organize the industry. Now, let us look at the fourth factor, which is affordability. Definitely, a lot of these budget hotels are affordable, and the new entrant has to price themselves accordingly. And hence, here the score is only 3 on a scale of 5. Legality wise, there is not much legal complications. There are certain licenses, but as you can see, since there are already 2 million budget hotels operating in India, getting these licenses is not difficult. So we are talking about a total score of 23 on a scale of 25, which again represents a mass market with very high potential. Now, we have identified or we have looked at how to identify a problem that exists around you, which requires some sort of a solution. The second part is where we will talk about solution building. And here again, I'm going to talk about a framework which I have thought about a lot in the last 1 year, especially when you talk about problems that are very pervasive, that are massy in nature. So I call this the 5I solution building framework, which includes first you ideate, then you investigate, then you implement, then you iterate, and finally you innovate. So ideation is, for example, look at any given issue, you realize that the issue exists, the issue has a very large pervasion, so there are a lot of people that are suffering from these issues, that are crying about these issues. Now you think about the ideas that could potentially help solve these issues and challenges. So that is where you come up with the first phase, where you brainstorm. So you talk to people that are close to you, you talk to friends, families, neighbors, understand their input on the solution that you're providing. And then the next phase is you investigate. So now that you have formed a rudimentary idea, you know how you're going to solve this particular problem, then you need to start investigating to understand what is already happening in the Indian market, and maybe there are other solutions that are already happening internationally. So once you have researched the market, once you have spoken to a lot of people, you would be able to come up with a hypothesis, you would be able to come up with a business plan. The next step is where you need to implement this. And when you implement, you do what I call the POC, or the proof of concept. So when you come up with a solution, you do not go all out with it, right? If you look at the story of Facebook, which is one of the biggest success stories of our times, you would realize that they started from a dormitory and they experimented with the dormitory initially, because the people that were living in the same dorm, they were the friends of Mark Zuckerberg, and hence they were very comfortable giving their feedback to Zuckerberg. So whenever you are starting, whenever you are trying to visualize a solution to a problem, and whenever you are talking about implementing an idea, it is always best advised to start with a proof of concept and restrict the proof of concept to people that are in and around you. Now that you have started the proof of concept, the next phase is where you need to start iterating. So by iteration, I mean the moment you implement your proof of concept, you would realize that there are so many things that are not going right. So you will build those things into your solution and restart. Again, you would realize that there are certain things that you ignored, and these again also need to be built into the solution. So you will get into a loop of what I call iteration. You will keep on iterating till you're sure that your solution is near perfect. There can never be a business model that is absolutely perfect. Trust me. So the idea is to not waste a lot of time, but still spend enough time on iterating the solution and arriving at a solution which is what I call near perfect. Once you have this near perfect solution, that is when you are ready to take the big leap, start innovating, start scaling up, start growing, and follow the pedagogy of build, measure, learn, grow. So whenever you're going, it is also very important to keep measuring and keep learning. Because if you're not doing this, your growth would be haphazard, your growth would be random. It is very important to structure your growth. And the only way to do that is keep measuring, keep learning, and keep implementing. Now let us look at how we did it at Uclean. So this is the first case study that we talked about, where we talked about how Gunjan was grappling with the issue of laundry because she hardly had any time, and she was not happy with the quality of laundry that she was getting from her maid or from the local dhobi, and she was also not very happy with the pricing that she got from the dry cleaner. So we had a clear problem that was identified. And now I'm going to put that problem in this 5I framework. So I'll ideate. So what we did initially was we realized that the demand was there, the supply was also there. So if you look at the laundry industry of India, it is supposed to be an industry which is more than $50 billion in size. But unfortunately, there is also a very huge supply. So you have the local dhobis across the country who are catering to this demand. But unfortunately, the demand is not at all happy with the supply. And hence, we came up with the idea of building what we call friendly neighborhood laundromats. So the biggest issue when you look at the laundry industry in India today is that there is absolutely lack of transparency. धोबी आपके घर पर आता है, कपड़े ले जाता है और कुछ दिनों बाद कपड़े आपको वापस दे देता है. Now, in those few days, what happens with your clothes is something that you're absolutely not privy to. So you do not know where the clothes are getting washed, how are they getting washed, what kind of detergent, what kind of water is used. You're absolutely in the dark. So we created a neighborhood concept where, as a customer, you can walk into the store at any point in time and see the entire operation in action. Have a look at our machines, have a look at our detergent, have a look at our water. You will be able to give yourself the comfort that you have come to the right place. Once we started implementing, what we did was we implemented from a couple of stores in Delhi NCR. We learned a lot there. In fact, we ended up burning very expensive machines because we were very careless. We didn't realize that the dryer could be very hot. We put up some towels that had come from the spa. And you know, the spa towels, they have these oils which are highly inflammable. But since we were new, since we were not very sure how laundry operations work, and we were just learning, we ended up burning our machines. It costed us almost 5 lakh rupees, but it also turned out to be a massive learning for us. So from there, we realized that we need to first test with a very small quantity, understand how the laundry process works, and only then scale it up. We were naive. We thought that कपड़े धोने हैं इसमें क्या big deal है, मशीन में डाल दो धुल जाएंगे. What we did not realize was that सारे कपड़े ड्रायर में same temperature में dry नहीं होते. It costed us 5 lakh rupees. But it also became one of the biggest learnings. And that is when then for the next 2 months, we did so many experimentations, so many learnings before we created our operating manuals and standard operating procedures. Once we realized that now we understand the business, what we also realized is that this is a business which can very quickly be replicated. India mein, there are at least 10,000 neighborhoods where I can set up a Uclean, because at the end of the day, it's a very hyper local neighborhood business. And that's when we realized that the only way to reach these 10,000 neighborhoods would be to partner with equally passionate entrepreneurs who believe in the cleaning industry, who believe in the vision of Uclean. And that's when we started franchising. And in the last 4 years, we have covered 2.5% of those neighborhoods. We are present in more than 250 neighborhoods of India. In fact, since you guys are in Guwahati, we have 12 outlets in Guwahati. So standing wherever in Guwahati, if you hit a stone, you're definitely going to hit a UK. So that's how we expanded. And all these 12 are different passionate entrepreneurs in Guwahati across different age groups. So I have a franchisee on VIP Road, which is near to the Guwahati airport. He's a lad who is just 17 years old. And I have a franchisee on RG Barua Road in Guwahati, where the franchise partner is someone who is 63. And I have 3 franchise partners who are ladies. So we have a very interesting mix of franchise partners across India. And you would see a reflection of that in Guwahati if you decided to venture out today and start looking at all UPs. Now let's look at the second case study. And this is the case study of Trevo Hotels. So before starting Uclean, I was heading the North India business for Trevo Hotels. And Trevo Hotels today is the second largest budget hotel chain in India, Oyo rooms. So when we started ideating at Trevo, and I was one of the earliest team members at Trevo, so what we realized was the budget hotel travelers were extremely dissatisfied with 2 million budget hotels in India. They didn't like the quality of breakfast. Yeah, so what we realized at Trevo was that the customers, they were not happy with the rooms, with the breakfast, with the quality of laundry, and hence there was a huge problem begging to be solved. The second part was what we also realized was that while there was a very formidable competition in the form of Oyo rooms, but the corporates were absolutely unhappy with Oyo. So whether it was handling of the corporates or whether there was a lack of consistency across hotels, but we soon realized that a lot of these corporates were not happy. So there was a huge problem that demanded a solution. And so what we did was we started with aggregating a few hotels in Bangalore. And from these few hotels, we started getting a response. And what we realized was that while you could always aggregate these hotels on your platform and you could start marketing them, start promoting them, and people will start buying rooms from your platform, but the problem was still the same. The hoteliers were still not doing a good job of managing their customers, and the escalations were coming to us. So that's when we realized that we need a much bigger intervention than just aggregating rooms. So that's where we introduced the concept of quality assurance managers. Each of them was responsible for a given budget hotels. They were on our payrolls, but they were responsible for training the staff, for maintaining the rooms, for ensuring that every room is quality checked every day before allowing a check-in. and very importantly, proactively seeking feedback from each and every customer. Suddenly, we realized that our NPS score had increased dramatically, our ratings had increased dramatically. So now we knew that this is the right solution, especially when you're targeting corporates. And that's when we started expanding. And if you look at Trevo today, Trevo is the second largest budget hotel chain in India after Oyo Rooms. So this is how we look at the 5I framework to arrive at the solution which we arrived at with Trevo Hotels. Now, this is the Uclean story we have already talked about. And this is how Uclean solved Gunjan's problems and the problems of so many other men and women like her who are always time crunched and looking for quality service at an affordable price. So we introduced transparency where we created live laundromats. So here was a very interesting feedback that we got from the restaurant industry. So today, if you look at the restaurant industry, you would realize that people love live restaurants. So you go to a nice restaurant, you will see that you can literally see what is being cooked in front of you. So there would be a live kitchen, there would be a small partition, and then you would be sitting on the table right next to this kitchen. And you can see from here what kind of ingredients are being used, if the food that is being used is fresh or not. So restaurants, increasingly the good quality ones, they are starting to promote the concept of live restaurants. So very similar, we also realized that people would love to see how the clothes are getting washed. Initially, when we started Uclean, and it's a funny story, Uclean initially was meant to be you clean. So you as a customer would come to the outlet and clean your clothes yourself. So we had this false premise because do-it-yourself laundry is very popular in Western parts of the world. When you go to the US or you go to Europe, you will see that a lot of people wash their own clothes in the laundromat. So we thought that this would also work in India, but unfortunately in India, because manpower is cheap, we are now becoming lazy couch potatoes. So people don't like doing their laundry at the store. Instead, they want a pick up and drop, or they want someone else to wash their laundry. But still, we persisted and we wanted to make sure that you, as a customer, would have the liberty to come into a store anytime and see the entire process for yourself. Now, what this also did was it had a direct compounding effect on our team because the team, it was exposed. The people could see them, the customers could see them, so they also started spending more time and energy on ensuring that the quality of wash is better, and this directly translated into better quality clothes, or rather better quality cleaning. What we also did was we focused on turnaround time. One biggest refrain in the laundry industry. Go to Google and you will see that almost every customer is complaining कि धोबी वाले ने बोला था कि 4 दिन में कपड़े वापस आ जाएंगे, आज 40 दिन हो गए कपड़े नहीं आए. So we realized that this is a very big pain point. Customers are giving their very expensive clothes that they want to wear to the office after a couple of days, and they get really frustrated if the clothes are not returned on time. So we focused on turnaround time, and because we had a live laundry concept, so the clothes could be quickly washed and delivered back to you. What we also did was we introduced the concept of affordability. We introduced the concept of laundry on a kg basis. So laundry on a kg basis, uh, as Indians, we all know that we believe in the concept of thok. कि अगर
Guys, we are extremely sorry for the lost connection. We'll be back soon.
Sorry, guys. Somehow my internet is really acting that way. Let me. I hope you can see my presentation.
Yes, let's move.
I'm really sorry. I don't know why, but I especially came to the office for this, but the internet seems to be acting up. So, like I said, at Uclean, we solved Gunjan's problem through a combination of transparency, ensuring that we are meeting timelines, and making sure that we are affordable by introducing the concept of laundry by the kg basis. The next is when you talk about how we solved the problem of Daksh using Trevo as an example, where we focused on introducing quality, introducing consistency. So making sure that whether you go to a Trevo hotel at Koramangala in Bangalore, or you to go to a Trevo hotel in South Extension in Delhi, or you go to a Trevo hotel in RG Barua Road in Guwahati, you would see that you are seeing the same kind of breakfast, same kind of bed sheets, same kind of towels everywhere. Obviously, since it's the hotel industry and we are trying to disrupt the industry, we also leveraged technology. And it was through these combination of quality, consistency, and technology, we were able to disrupt the industry and win the confidence of a lot of customers. Now, the since we are talking about two case studies that were very close to my heart, where I was directly working on both the problems. The third case study is a very interesting case study where honestly I had no role to play, but I have read this case so many times because it is very interesting, and this represents a unique problem where the overall solution or the overall product was working, but there was one mini product within the larger product that was not working, and how the engineers, the design experts. Sorry, my presentation got disconnected. So I was talking about a problem which was much larger in the overall solution, which is Procter and Gamble. So there is this product called oil of Olay, and now today on today's date it is known as Olay. But back then, when they faced this problem, it was popularly known as oil of Olay. And Procter and Gamble had a very unique issue that while all the other products were working very well, one of their flagship product, which is oil of Olay, which is a skincare brand owned by Procter and Gamble, was not working, and suddenly the market share was falling down drastically. And oil of Olay, or Olay as we all know, is a skincare brand. Now, if you look at the overall beauty care market, skincare in particular has what is called the halo effect on the overall market. So, what I mean by the halo effect is that if your skincare product is working, then all your beauty care products could also work. But if your skincare product is not working, it is going to have an adverse impact on all the beauty care products that you have within your portfolio. So now they were suddenly grappling with this major issue because the sales were dramatically dropping every week. So now they had three options in front of them. Because they are a very big company, so they had the liberty of all these three options. As a startup, you might not. So the first option was that you launch an absolutely new brand in the skincare segment, recreate something, come up with a new brand name, and launch it with a lot of fanfare. The second option was to acquire one of the skincare leaders, which Procter and Gamble could have done easily. The third part was reinventing the Olay brand, which was the path they decided to choose. So now see how it pans out. So now look at the original customer of the Olay brand. Olay brand is very famous for removing the wrinkles from your skin. So the original customer was a skin conscious lady in her 40s. Maybe she's living in New York. She's self dependent and she's very judicious when spending money. So she's very careful where she wants to spend money on, and she definitely wants to spend money on delaying the aging. So she does not want the skin to look all wrinkly. But she's also an explorer. She has time on hands. She likes to look at all possible options, and brands like Amazon allow you to do that. And the third part is she's very price sensitive. So if she realizes that Olay is expensive, which was in fact a case, she started migrating to other brands. So now they had this problem, they had the persona clearly laid out and knew that there was a challenge right there that had to be solved. So what Ole did next was or rather, what I did for Ole, not directly for them, but what I did was I looked at their case study and I measured the performance on these 5 parameters. You would realize that the frequency is very high. So if I'm a lady in my 40s and I'm having wrinkly skin, I would definitely keep using these wrinkle prevention or wrinkle protection creams. So in that sense, frequency is very high. And I'm not the only one in my 40s. So there are a lot of ladies who are in their 40s who require some kind of treatment, some kind of moisturizer to delay the wrinkling. Now, when you look at the competition was there. So there were enough existing solution in the market, and it would always be difficult to break this market. And hence it scores very low, which is 2 on a scale of 5. Affordability wise, like I told you, Olay was more expensive than almost all the other products in the market, and that made it even more challenging. Legality wise, obviously, there were no challenges. Procter and Gamble is a mega company. They have a very solid legal team, and they're already manufacturing a lot of cosmetics and beauty care products. So if you add up these factors, you would realize that the consolidated score is 16. It represents a niche market. And why do I say that? Is because Olay was expensive. And obviously, the users were ladies in their 40s and generally not the gentlemen. And not even the ladies who are in their early 30s or ladies who are much younger than that. So the market had a good niche market, but it also had a good potential. And Procter and Gamble needed to find a way to salvage this potential. So what they did next was they decided a strategy to completely reinvent themselves. So what they did was they did an absolute repositioning. So initially they were targeting these 40 something women. They suddenly moved to target what they call their non-customers. So they started targeting women who are in their early 30s, who are about to get into their 40s, or women who are in their late 20s and who are really afraid of aging. So they started targeting their non-customers, and instead of calling themselves a skincare brand that helps prevent wrinkles, they started calling themselves a brand that keeps women healthier, youthful, and gives them a more beautiful life. So suddenly the women who were in their 30s and who were mortally afraid of aging, or women who were in their early 20s or late 20s who thought that they should never age, suddenly realized that Olay is that magic elixir that can help them prevent aging. So they started targeting these women and absolutely moved away the focus from the women who were in their 40s and 50s. They moved away from value. What they did was they focused on the value innovation. So moved away from the overcrowded space of targeting women who are in their 40s because it was extremely quantitative and it was extremely price sensitive. So what they did, they focused on these early 30s, early 20s, late 20s who were not price sensitive. They really wanted quality and they really wanted to delay aging. So they didn't mind spending more if Olay gave them the comfort that by using our moisturizer, you could delay your wrinkles by, say, several years. And this changed the story. This changed the total narrative for oil of Olay. And suddenly it started doing more in terms of sales than they had done in the last 50 years. So the target group changed and they moved to women in her early 30s. And these women are absolutely loyal. So they don't care if there are 100 other competing or similar products. They don't care if these products are cheaper. If Olay gives them the confidence, if Olay gives them the comfort that this would delay their aging, prevent their wrinkles, they're only going to use Olay. And obviously, Procter and Gamble had deep pockets, so they were able to market it, they were able to position and promote it as a moisturizing cream that could delay wrinkles. And suddenly, they saw a huge uptake in sales. So this is a fantastic story where the overall bigger company or the bigger solution, which is Procter and Gamble, was working, but their skincare line and their beauty care line as a result was struggling because one particular product was not performing. So this is something also that you as entrepreneurs might have to do a lot many times, where you realize that your overall product is working just fine, but some components of it are not working. So you need to really look at those components in greater depth and develop a solution to improve the component, or to develop a solution that could be completely or radically different from what it was originally intended to be. So the last slide is, before you start looking at a problem or before you start working on a solution to a given problem, there are few things that you really need to consider. So first is, never go in with a bias. Now this is very important. So many a times we tend to be biased. If we see that, say for example, my mom is suffering with one particular problem, I try to generalize it. I start feeling that every other woman in her 60s or in her 70s would be having a similar problem. So that is not the case. So make sure that do not form opinions or do not form facts just because you are seeing someone very close to you suffering from one particular problem. Research extensively. And here I would like to talk about a very important fact, which is, trust me, whatever idea you have, however fantastic that idea is, trust me, someone somewhere in the world is already working on it. So do away with the founder's ego. We tend to feel that as founders, we are super smart, we are absolutely stud, and whatever we are thinking is the absolutely the God idea. But trust me, it is not. You are not the only one who has this brilliant idea. There might be someone else somewhere in the world who is already executing that idea. So it is always good to research the market, understand who's doing what, and then accordingly design your solution. Third part is, while I talk about research, and research helps a lot, going to the internet, reading magazines, reading books, but nothing will give you better insights than primary interviews. So talk to as many people as you can. Talk to your wife, talk to your girlfriend, talk to your boyfriend, mother, sibling, talk to everyone before you put an idea into implementation. The more number of primary interviews you get, the no more number of insights you will have, and the better curated solution or product you can build. The fourth part is, pivot when you must. So this is very important. Again, I would talk about founder's ego, because a lot many times when we build a solution, we tend to think that we have found the absolutely perfect solution and nothing can be better than this. But again, you would realize once you start running a company that many a times you would be faced with challenges which require you to pivot from a given idea or pivot from a given direction. So it is perseverance. While it's a great quality, it is not always the best quality. You should persevere, but only to an extent. Once you realize that despite all your perseverance, a given solution is not working, it is important to pivot to new direction, or maybe pivot to an absolutely new solution. Last but not the least, please don't start up for the sake of starting up. I see a lot many people, and today if you go to LinkedIn, almost every second person is a founder, every third person is an evangelist, every fourth person is an ideator. So these are very fancy terms, and a lot of students are not exposed to it, which is actually very good. But I can tell you that honestly, while you might feel a sense of pride in calling yourself an evangelist or a motivator or an ideator, these are only fancy terms. So, likewise, founder is a very fancy term. People start respecting you, your friends and family start giving you a newfound respect. But don't start up just because of that. Only if you have a compelling idea, only if you have a compelling solution to a problem, and you're willing to really take it out. So the idea is that startup journey is a very difficult journey. Finding a solution to a problem is only a small part of it. The bigger part is implementing, executing, and making sure that you're able to take it to the next level. And this could take you 5 years, this could take you 10 years, this could take you 20 years. So only if you're prepared for the long haul, only if you're really passionate about the problem and building a solution to it, only then get into a startup. Don't do it just for the sake of starting up. So that's it from my side. I am really sorry for the ongoing internet issues and the electricity fluctuations. It is embarrassing. I had specially come down to the office to make sure that I don't face these issues. But unfortunately, it turned out to be a bad day today. But hopefully, you guys took away some things from my presentation. Would love to have any questions right now. Or in case you want to connect later on with me, I would be reachable at arunab@uclean.com. So thank you so much for this wonderful opportunity.
So that was really insightful. So let's begin with the Q&A session. So the first question goes like this. It's by Binay Bhattacharya. That's great to have covered more than 250 localities. Did you think if the franchisee would lead to degradation in quality?
Sure. And a very valid question. So, one of the biggest concerns when you start franchising out is whether you would be able to ensure the same quality and the same standards across wherever you expand. And this is a problem that franchising industry in particular has suffered from. I have seen some of the best brands in the world and in India in particular suffer from this. Some have actually collapsed because they were not able to sustain franchising because of exactly the same issues. But I think for anyone who is looking at franchising as an expansion model, you really need to first create what I call a near perfect model for yourself. So one is, and it's an entire. I can do an entire webinar on this. It is such a vast subject. If you ask me about how to find the right franchisee or what are the right traits that a prospective franchisee should have, I can actually do a 5 hours webinar on that. But what every brand that starts to franchise should remember is that you are trying to clone your brand, right? Franchisee at the end of the day is a clone of your original business. So before you franchise out, make sure that you have as detailed standard operating procedures and operations manual in place. Make sure that you have a very detailed training process, but very importantly, have a very solid audit team in place whose only responsibility is to constantly travel and audit all the stores and all the outlets you have, and make sure that you're setting the expectations right with every franchise partner that comes on board. Having said all of this, I would still say that there is a possibility, there is this 5 to 10% possibility that one of these franchisees might turn a rogue franchisee or a non compliant franchisee, in which case you might also have to take necessary legal action against them.
Yeah, so that was great. So the second question goes like this. This is a question by Gunjan. If you have a good practical idea for the society but does not necessarily have a up-top profit model, what should be done in that case, and how can the product be made sustainable?
So, can you come again on that question? I lost it.
Okay. If you have a good practical idea for the society but does not necessarily have an up-top profit model, what should be done in that case, and how can the product be made sustainable?
Sure. So I think today we are living in the world of funding, venture capitalists, private equity. And if you read about it, you would see that a lot of businesses, a lot of them get funded even when they are loss making. But the only difference is that they have a projection, they have a model, and they have a conviction that they would eventually at some point in time start becoming positive, start becoming profitable, and then the profitability would only keep building up from there. So in case you have a model that you believe is convincing enough, is not immediately profitable, there is always a possibility to poach in or bring in investors who would be willing to fund your idea, who correlate with your vision, and you're able to see it through. If your business model is absolutely not for profit, which is what happens with the non-governmental organizations or these non-for-profit businesses, then you would have to look at grants as a mean of running the business. So, for example, very active grants are like Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, who fund ventures that are not for profit, but then they should have a clear underlying cause and they should be able to benefit the community at large.
Yeah, that was amazing. So this is a question by Advait. There are always high risks when one runs a startup with tough competitors in the market. So, what's your strategy of tackling such risks?
Sure. So I think if you are someone who follows entrepreneurship, who follows founders, you would see that a lot of founders keep talking about moat, right? So moat is that unique idea that is very particular to your business and that is not there in any other business. So in case you are looking to enter into an already overcrowded space, and I'll again give you an example which I really love, which is the case story of Burger King. So when Burger King started, McDonald's was already there. McDonald's was present left, right, and center. And Burger King was finding it very difficult to enter the market and create their own niche. And that's when they realized that McDonald's, the biggest USP of McDonald's is what they call a loss leader. Loss leader is a product that is not necessarily profit making for them, but that draws the crowd into the outlets. And then once you step inside the outlet, you also buy some other products. And overall, every customer becomes profitable. So if you look at McDonald's, their aloo tikki burger is the loss leader. So McDonald's doesn't make any money on the aloo tikki burger, but what it does is, because in India in particular, we are a vegetarian country, we love aloo. So a lot of people come into McDonald's because of that aloo tikki burger. But when you come inside, you also tend to order the fries, you order the Coca-Cola, you order this ice cream, and overall you are suddenly a profitable client to McDonald's. So Burger King also realized this. They realized the strategy of McDonald's and they created their Whopper burger, which is the beef Whopper burger in America and the mutton Whopper burger in India. And suddenly they were selling this Whopper burger at like hotcakes because it was cheap, but it was highly filling. And again, the customers who came in because of the Whopper burger, they also added the fries, they wanted the ice cream, they wanted the cola, and suddenly the customer became profitable. So the idea is that you also need to figure out what your moat is. When we entered the budget hotel space with Trevo, Oyo was already very well established there, and they had huge amount of funding. They could do whatever kind of marketing they wanted to do. But we realized that they were not focused on the corporates, and that is where we entered. We realized that there are so many budget hotel corporates who do not have a nice place to stay, who were not comfortable staying at an Oyo or at a standalone budget hotel, and we started targeting them. So it is absolutely okay, absolutely all right to enter a competitive space. But before you do that, figure out your moat, figure out your competitive advantage.
Yes, sir, that potato example was really very true. So, the next question is, can you please tell us how you got your first customers of Uclean?
So I'm sorry to disappoint you, but there is no fancy story around it. But what I'll tell you, what we did was we selected a strategically very suitable location. So we started our first outlet in an area called Vasant Kunj in Delhi. And if you look at the laundry business and the Uclean model in particular, you would realize that laundry is not a business that would work inside a mall or on a high street. The reason for that is one, rentals would be very high. Two, laundry is a business where people want a pick up and drop, like I mentioned before. So you would end up spending a lot of money on the pick up and drop in terms of petrol cost if you're located on a high street or in a mall. So what we did was we started targeting chota neighborhood markets, जहां पर you will typically have a mother dairy की दुकान होगी, you will have a couple of grocery shops, you will maybe have a mutton chicken shop, maybe a salon. And we found exactly one particular market in Vasant Kunj, very small market. There were 10 odd shops, but there was a mother dairy which witnessed a huge footfall in the morning and the evening. So we rented out a store which was bang opposite the mother dairy. And when people started coming in the morning, they realized कि ये क्या खुल रहा है? ये laundry shop है, धोबी ने दुकान लगा ली. And they started coming in. And what we did was, because we had the laundry machines inside the store, and these laundry machines are about 7 feet high, and they are very sleekly designed. तो लोग बाहर से जब देखते थे कि across the glass door, they said, "What is this? ये क्या machine लगी हुई है?" They used to come in, and they were shocked to know that this is a washing machine. They would touch the washing machine, they would feel the washing machine, and they would say, "यार एक बार तो try करना बनता है," and they would place an order. So that is how we captured our first customer.
Yeah, so that was great. So we don't have any further questions. So can we just end the session now?
Absolutely. And I have to, when I say this today, that you guys have been a wonderful audience. I really mean it. You put up through three power cuts, I think three or four internet disruptions. Those are beyond my control, but I really appreciate your patience. I really appreciate your tolerance and fantastic speaking to all of you. And thank you so much to the entire team at ESL IIT Guwahati for this wonderful opportunity.
Thank you, sir, for joining us today. Your ability to interact with the audience and sustain their interest was mind blowing throughout the event. Our team is most grateful to you for the kind efforts. I would also like to thank our audience for being with us today. I hope you fill your brain with a lot of amazing ideas and solutions, right? Hoping to see you soon in the next episode of Startup Odyssey on 12th June. Till then, stay safe and stay happy. Thank you.
Thank you so much.